All right. Welcome back, my friends, to All Cars Reacts. It is time for another Motorweek retro review reaction, and this week I have chosen the 1994 Mitsubishi 3000GT VR4, one of the possibly worst named cars of the 1990s, and which I really like, except I have an absolutely irrational dislike of it for the dumbest of reasons, which I will tell you about at the end. But very memorable sports car, and over time I've liked it more and more, so I thought this one would just be a fun one to talk about something that wasn't an econo box. So as always, kick back in your comfy chair. You and I are just sitting by a fire. We're going to reminisce about 1994. Grab your beverage of choice, just some water today. It is a little late in the afternoon, and let's see what Motorweek said about it when it's brand new.
Your host for Motorweek, John Davis.
Well, hello and welcome again to Motorweek. We're glad to have you with us. Change is constant in the auto industry, with cars like this Mitsubishi 3000 GT going through cycles of continuous evolution just to stay competitive. And in the case of the latest 3000 GT, there are big changes because few market segments are more competitive than that of high-performance sports cars. And few sports cars are as well equipped to handle it now as the 3000 GT VR4. As the high-performance flagship of the Mitsubishi line, the 3000 GT VR4 has received many accolades from the Motorweek staff since its 1990 debut. Substantial changes, both inside and out, for 94 keep our compliments flowing. The most obvious alteration is a new front end, with the original retractable headlamps replaced by mask light projector beam assemblies and a more aerodynamic hood. Revised air intakes and smoother side appliques soften the 3000 GT's body. But the new 17-inch alloy wheels are very aggressive. The optional chrome finish, however, is a bit too boy racer for our taste. But any racer, young or
All right, let's talk about the styling here. In real broad swaths, I love it. There's details that I don't like, and some of those can be fixed relatively easily. So if we look at the positive here, the lines of this, I really dig it. It looks like a muscle car. It looks like, slightly in profile, looks like a Corvette. It's got an aggressive stance, and we're going to talk about the power and the handling, the all-wheel drive, and everything else. I just think this is a really good-looking car that just looks big. Motorweek has another video where they test the 300Z, the Supra, the RX-7, and something else with one of these. And I'll probably do that video in the future too. It just kind of hit a whole bunch of stuff. But this just looks big. It looks wide and it looks long too. And I think that's part of why I like it so much. Bear with me here, because when I'm not a sports car kind of guy. I adore the Miata. And I'd love to have an old MG, right? Or maybe a Fiat 124 Spider or a Triumph Spitfire or something like that. But mostly when I get that spring itch for a sports car, I tend to compare it to the Mustang, and there's generations of Mustang that I don't particularly like. And so things like the RX-7, which I've spoken very highly of here, except I don't trust the engine, but I love the RX-7. The Z cars have been excellent at different times. When they brought it back as the 350, I didn't really love it. I found it very, very, very uncomfortable. I had a chance to spend some time with one and drive it. So there's times when, like right now, I like the Mustang a bunch. And then there's other times where other stuff is just better. But what you notice is I'm not looking at hardcore sporty performance. I'm not going to an SCCA event and racing my car. I almost want more Grand Tour. And I think that's why I like this. It looks like a bigger, comfortable car to just eat up the miles in. I went a little too long there, but I really dig this car. This car speaks to me in a way some of its contemporaries never really did. That being said, the details on this car, some of it's hideous. Whoever came up with these chrome wheels, really, I hope they were fired. I really do. This is horrible. This looks like aftermarket wheels stuck on there by a pimp. But I do like the aggressive bodywork here. And then you get to the front. They did away with the retractable headlights, but instead of putting any actual effort into it, they created an insert with projector style beams, but they just stuck it in there. It again looks aftermarket, and it ruined the look of this car, in my opinion, at least from the front. But in general, man, I kind of dig this car. In the details, try harder.
The 3000 GT's body, but the new 17-inch alloy wheels are very aggressive. The optional chrome finish, however, is a bit too boy racer for our taste. But any racer, young or old, would be thrilled to get behind an engine like this. The VR4's 3-liter twin-turbo V6 now makes 320 horsepower and 315 pound-feet of torque, with a substantial increase in throttle response. 0 to 60 time decreases accordingly by nearly a full second to 4.9. The quarter-mile roars by in 13.5 seconds at 103 miles per hour. Now that's serious acceleration. Helped too by the...
Okay, I'm going to pause it a little early here because I have no problems with that engine. I respect that engine. Those of you who are more mechanically minded or maybe owned these, you might be able to tell me whether it's great, whether it's bad, blue head gaskets, leaked oil, whatever it happened to be. But I respect this engine. I like this engine a lot. I guess just from having driven one probably about 95 or something like that. And just, it felt so powerful. And those numbers kind of back it up. We see a lot of things on here which are like, oh, it did 8.5 seconds. That's pretty good for the time it lived in. This is under 5. This was a strong car.
Extra gear from the VR4's new Getrag 6-speed manual transmission. Now, our test car's linkage was a tad notchy, but throws were short and accurate. Braking distances were no shorter than before, but larger brake disc and new rear calipers gave our average 113-foot stops a smoother, more solid feel than those of last year's 3000 GT. And hard laps around Georgia's Roebling Road Raceway showed that the brake fade, which had plagued our previous track test of the 3000 GT, was now a thing of the past. That newfound stability extends to the handling. This year's car is quicker, more nimble than before. Effort required for the VR4 standard 4-wheel steering is still a bit too light, but turn-ins remain fast, with our car feeling more firmly planted in mid-corner. Features like the VR4's active aerodynamics, which automatically adjust front and rear spoilers for maximum downforce, look like gimmicks on paper, but the package clearly works. More credit, however, is probably due to the standard all-wheel drive and sophisticated electronically controlled suspension, which easily soaked up the biggest bumps on the track and on the street.
Let me just pause it there. First off, let's talk about the braking, right? If you've ever watched any of my videos for 2 or 3 years now, 115 is my number. This hit 113, no problem there. But they made everything bigger, which only improved the pedal feel and reduced fade. Wonderful. That's Mitsubishi doing what Toyota does, constant and never-ending improvement. I didn't remember that this car had active aerodynamics. Now, one of the things that Mitsubishi has, I would say, always done, and you can see in some of the glance and things like that, is they've loaded up the tech on it. All-wheel drive, but 4-wheel steering, electronic suspension. This was, except for the price range, in a lot of ways, you could say this is a 90s version of what the GTR was. or became, right? Just loaded with technology. Not nearly as attractive, however. I like this. I like this a lot. I wish they were doing their standard tests, because I'd like to see the slalom just a little closer, because watching it go around the racetrack, it doesn't look like you're getting really much body lean at all, but it's hard to watch that and not get a sense of mass, of heft, right? I don't know how much this weighs compared to, say, a Z car or an RX or whatever, but it looks hefty.
Even with the VR4's adjustable suspension on its firmest setting, the ride was never jarring. Now, many high-performance competitors can't make such a claim or offer the level of luxury and appointments available in the VR4. It's a superb cockpit, and it's safer this year thanks to the addition of standard dual airbags. It's also as roomy as many small sedans, with revised trim and comfortable leather-covered seating that offers a wide range of adjustments. Instruments are split between the main pod and center dash, but all are large and clear. The now CFC-free climate control's pictograph is still as confusing as before, but its switchgear is efficient. At $40,900...
Hold on. They just went right through the... How big's the trunk? That's what we all want to know here, right? This is a hard-hitting, consumer-oriented channel, and we need to know how much luggage this will hold. And I'm joking, but that's a legitimate concern. If this isn't a point-and-cut sports car, well, if you're going to take a trip in it, how much luggage can you fit? You know, is there room behind the back seat? Why don't they cover the basic things here? That's frustrating. Interior, generally speaking, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's kind of ugly. I'm not commenting on the quality of the materials. And, you know, for those of you who've watched me before, it has two different colors. So it doesn't look quite as drab and dark as it really, really could have. But, you know, the 3 gauges over the center stack, one of which looked like the gas gauge. Yeah, that's just, you know, it's stupid. Put it over here. And then why did they make the radio and HVAC? Why did they set it into that center stack, right? I don't look at the interior and go, oh my gosh, clutch my pearls and go, my gosh, that is so perfect. I would love to spend some time in that. It looks rich. It doesn't. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I don't have a huge problem with it, and I appreciate that they used not black carpet and not black seats. $41,000, guys.
VR4's base price is also healthy. With added options, our test car totaled out at $42,512. Not cheap, but again, typical of the breed. And it does buy one of the most sophisticated cars on the road today. And a very safe one as well. The 3000GT VR4 has dual airbags, anti-lock brakes, all-wheel drive, and 5-mile-per-hour bumpers, all standard. And that's just icing on the cake for this world-class, ultra-high-performance sports car. The design of the Mitsubishi 3000GT VR4 and its similar Dodge Stealth RT Turbo relative is, in the end, the closest one can approach show car features and exclusivity without spending 6 figures. For a market niche that's becoming more ferociously competitive with each passing year, the odds of this Mitsubishi's continued success are great.
So, interesting ending. That's expensive. Gosh, that sounds expensive today. But, you know, we think about this and the technology it has on it that admittedly some cars today have different technology, you know, adaptive cruise control and automatic braking. But some of this technology, like the 4-wheel steering or the active aerodynamics, you don't see that until you get much more expensive cars. I respect this car. Now, from a styling perspective, I think the Stealth was better. I always thought it was better looking, except for the fact they took the spoiler, shrunk it down, made it into a boomerang, and stuck it at the back window. That was a styling decision, not a performance decision. But I've always thought the Stealth just looked better. But This car, bluntly, I don't think it gets the respect it deserves. People go gaga over the Supra. People remember 300Zs, 300Zs and 280s and everything else. I think this is largely forgotten. I think it's largely unappreciated, and I think it's because of what Mitsubishi has become. It's shocking to think at a time Mitsubishi was a full-line manufacturer, and they could produce this, what they just described here as world-class performance car. It's amazing. It's wonderful. But I promised a story, and it is that back in the day when I was in college in the early 90s, this car, I liked it. I liked how it looked. I liked almost everything about it. But my girlfriend at the time, she had a friend. And you ever know one of those people and they're just a bad influence? Okay? That's what this person was, this friend. And it was either a Stealth or a 3000. I don't remember. And it colored my opinion of this car for a long, long time. That kind of person was the person who bought this kind of car. But as I've removed myself from that, as I left that behind a little bit, right, as a few oceans passed under a few bridges, I just appreciate this car. Love to drive one again and reminisce a little bit. It had a 6-speed. Come on. Great car. Love this car. Really, really like this car. And in a world where, there was a Supra, a 300Z, an RX, something else, and the Camaro and the Mustang, would I have chosen this first? Probably not. Might have been third, but that doesn't mean I don't respect it. So as always, I appreciate you spending a few minutes with me here today. And if you had one, let me know what you think below. How did it hold up? Did you love it? When did you get rid of it? Do you still have it? Things like that. Love to hear some personal stories about these. Thank you, my friends.